Dr. Park. Thank you so much for joining us today at Stello Studios. I'm Amee Parekh, founder and CEO of Stello AI, and we are so excited to have you here.
Thank you. I'm really delighted to be here as well. Thanks for the invitation.
And to give some background to our viewers, Dr. Youn Park is extremely accomplished. He is from my alma mater, Cornell University's ILR school. He is the director of research there in Institute for Compensation Studies. He is also the professor at SKK School in Korea. Dr. Park has deep research on incentives and rewards, employee turnover, and employment strategy relationships. His research has been published in so many leading academic journals. And Dr. Park, we are just thrilled to have you here today.
Oh, thank you. I love this opportunity to talk about compensation, like important issues like pay transparency and job architecture.
Yeah, that's amazing, Dr. Park. Since we have you, we have saved some of our hardest questions just for you. So, Dr. Park, I've had a long career in HR leadership roles in a lot of high growth companies. One of the things we have noticed is whenever the job architecture isn't set up properly, it leads to a lot of issues related to scaling and growth, etc. So, Dr. Park, I'd love to hear from you. Tell us a bit about job architecture, just starting with the basics. What is it? Why is it important? What can you share about it?
Yeah, I was actually first surprised with this trend that many people are talking about, this job architecture, because in the academic field, job architecture, or in a different name, job evaluation, has always been there, and I've been teaching it for many, many years. So it is sort of refreshing to see people talking about it again more frequently these days. I think it has something to do with the emergence of DEI as well, because people are paying more attention to pay equity, and they are thinking more about how to pay equitably between different races and gender. And to make that decisions right, it is important to have job architecture and then link pay with the architecture. So many companies that have not been using job architecture are paying attention to this thing for, I think, those reasons. But you asked the question about what job architecture is. It is fairly simple. Job architecture is a structured framework that defines and organizes jobs within an organization based on their relative values. So each job's relative values are typically evaluated based on their responsibilities, skills, or competencies, and their working conditions. And then the organization can make job architectures for each job family based on relative value of each job within each of those families.
Got it. Got it. And Dr. Park, talk to us more. Once you do set up this job architecture, how do you actually use it? What are the benefits of having this? Or rather, why should business leaders, HR teams go through the effort and go into these technical topics and even have a job architecture?
So I would say job architecture, any job-based organizations, job architecture is like the fundamental building block to make any human resource related decisions. So we are talking about that here with you at Stello AI, because compensation is one of the most important decisions for HR. And to make the pay related decisions right, you need to have the relative value, you need to know about relative value of each job so that you can achieve equity in allocating pay to each employee in each of those jobs. But job architecture is not only about pay, but it also is related to promotion decisions, career planning decisions, workforce planning, and even employee development planning as well. So from an organizational perspective, job architecture is the building block to make any HR-related decision. And also it is beneficial for employees too. Imagine that you are an employee and you go to an organization and you only see your job title. And one of you have a different job title. And it is a little difficult to figure out which jobs that you can move to internally and what job you can expect to be promoted as the next step. When the organization has a clear job architecture and communicated with employees, they will help employees see clear promotion path, or not just upward movement, but also internal mobility between different jobs, transfers or movement as well. So have that sense of where I can go in the next job, and how much pay can I expect there, what kind of responsibility will I see. That information is all as part of this job architecture, so that for employees it is helpful to see the job architecture as well.
I see. I see. Dr. Park, I think you're bringing up really, really important points. You're saying that even if the management team has the best intentions in mind, the intentions are not good enough. They need to take action on it. They need to better define the different jobs and levels, make it clear and transparent, communicate it to the employees in the best possible way. So now they also know, employees also know, how do I get from, software engineer to maybe a senior engineer to maybe a principal engineer. If I want to pursue a path of management, what are the ways to do it? Is it even an option at my company? So they can make some intelligent decisions on that. So sounds fascinating, and I definitely see the benefits that, yes, it's a lot of work up front, but once you have it in place, it can make a lot of your conversations later on far smoother. So we definitely see that. Thank you for sharing your perspective. Dr. Bach, a lot of companies, especially when they're in a high growth mode, or even startups, often lean or pride themselves on having little to no processes, just so that they can move very fast, be very agile, and really operate at a very high speed. So if companies in a high growth mode, do you still recommend job architecture? Is it still the right fit? Or at that point, would you have a different perspective depending on the maturity stage of the company?
That's a good point, because I remember that at the beginning when you were talking about this emerging trend about, growing attentions about this job architecture, you mentioned about scaling up, right? So in my view, as the organization size grows, you do need a job architecture so that you can help employees navigate different jobs within the organization, and also help organizations manage jobs in a different way depending on their relative values and so forth. But your question about, is it necessary for very, very small firms? I don't think so. I mean, it is good to have, but say you're like 10 people startup or 20 people startup, you have just certain, you just need people, and you are working like a team, not an organization. So I would say job architecture is important for organizations that has some degree of hierarchy. But if it is just like a team, then maybe having investing on job architecture is maybe creating can be seen as bureaucratic to some extent. So like your point about agility, flexibility viewpoint, job architecture may not be that necessary. But again, many organizations, especially and startups, wants to grow, right? And as their size grows, job architecture is something that they have to consider seriously for the benefits that I mentioned, in our earlier conversation.
Got it. So you're saying it's definitely a useful framework and definitely recommended overall. But if a company is too large, too small, then they may need to revisit and see, is this the right time? Is this a priority? And then make decisions on that. So those are really, really good points, Dr. Park. And Dr. Park, why is I would say, why is job architecture considered so challenging? Or let's say when HR teams are about to implement, what are some of the challenges that they face? Why is this not like a quick and easy exercise ever for any organization?
Yeah, that's a great question. So developing a job architecture is almost the same as developing and implementing a job architecture is almost the same as managing changes. I say this because, imagine that, Amee, you're my employee, and I'm at the HR team, and I do interview with you saying that I'm going to evaluate the value of your, and I'm going to evaluate value of your job relative to other jobs that you know who are working next to you who have different job titles. What would be your reactions? Like, will it affect my pay? Will it affect my promotion? And what is HR going to do with the evaluation? And whenever I just survey to you or interview to you, you have your own incentive to sort of over-evaluate the value of your job so that you can maximize your potential pay. I mean, I'm not saying it's unethical, but that's a nature, human nature. Or it can be that people often, this is so-called fundamental attribution error, that they tend to overestimate their own values compared to others, especially when things are going well. But when failure happens, they tend to attribute it to the external reasons than their own, attribute. So for that reason, people tend to overestimate their values and their jobs than others. So from an HR person's perspective, you want to make an objective structure of job or architecture of job, but dealing with, convincing employees about why it's so important. And it is a process of achieving pay equity, not about like decreasing pay or increasing others' pay. That communication is very, very important. And that is actually a challenging part because, you can imagine like HR people are doing something within the organization, how employees would react to it, right? Just let me do my job. Why are you policing me? That's the natural reaction people could. And
Those are such amazing points that in reality, job architecture needs to be doing it right. It needs some deep work. That the deep work can be in the form of reading job descriptions, or it can be in terms of interviewing employees, because jobs change pretty quickly after the job description. And that, you're right, can cause, I have seen it so many times, just some nervousness, anxiety, and especially if it's a bad market, then they're not sure what are the next steps. So I completely see your point. That's super helpful.
yeah.
And Dr. Bhatt, a lot of our viewers, might be doing this for the first time, either, because the organization is new, or they are new to it, or need to redo it, for their teams. So, what are some good ways to learn about job architecture and familiarize themselves with the concept?
Yeah, there are so many, books about Java architecture, so you can refer to it. One of probably the easiest and least time-consuming way is to observe your other companies that are using Java architecture and just copy. To be realistic, that's probably easy.
Out there in the industry, figure out 2 or 3 frameworks and see if any of them might be a good starting.
Exactly. So I don't think following an industry standard is necessarily. But again, when you think about strategy or strategic values come from differentiation, right? And if you want to be different from other organizations, then you do need your own structure. That's the starting point. So first, if you don't have enough resources, or if you don't have, HR experts within your organization, you may just want begin by copying other companies' ones or follow industry standard. If you want to be a little more unique, but invest not too much, then you may use external vendors like consulting companies, because many of the consulting companies have their own proprietary job architecture frameworks and models, and they will do interviews and surveys, and they will help you develop job architecture. So that's a little costly, but that is another way that you can relatively easily develop the job architecture within your company. But again, because consulting companies or other vendors are using their own framework, that means any client who got consulting from those vendors will use similar job architecture.
That's right.
Is that good? Is that good from the perspective of strategy? It is a little different than others, but it doesn't make you differentiate your company, enoughly than others. So the best way, but the most expensive way, might be to develop your own job architecture within your company. To do that, I would first start picking one job family. say like market family or even the HR family. And then there you may see lots of different job titles, but you want to pick so-called benchmark job, meaning that the jobs that are existing in other organizations as well as yours, not just unique job that is existing only in your organization. That is not a good candidate. So pick several benchmark job within a job family, and then do interviews and surveys with the people who are working there, and then figure out the value of those jobs. First, figure out the criteria that you want to evaluate each of those jobs. Typically, they include like responsibilities and skills and competencies and working condition, but you may vary, use add or remove some other criterion in evaluating those jobs. And then make a relative hierarchy based on those criteria, and then apply that framework to other non-benchmark job in that job family. Once you do it successfully, then you can do the same thing for the next job family and next job family, and then you will be able to make several comprehensive job architectures in your organization. You don't want to take like wholesale approach doing evaluating every single job in your organization. So I would be strategic by choosing certain job family and certain jobs that are strategically more important in your organization, and begin by developing a job family, job architecture for the jobs within that job family.
That's amazing, Dr. Park. I think you explained a very complex process in very simple words, such that even a leader with not a lot of experience can do it really well. So that was really helpful, and also great tips on use consultants, but here are the caveats or here are the downsides, and organizations and teams really need to be highly aware of their own philosophy. How fast do they want to promote people? How fast do they want to move? And a lot of different things before they figure out the right structure. So this has been amazing, just fascinating. I definitely learned a lot. I'm sure our audience will as well. So I just want to say, Dr. Park, thank you. You have been amazing, and you've shared a lot about a very complex subject in a very simple way, and we're really grateful. Thank you for everything, and thanks for joining us today at Stello.
Thank you. My